Polkadot has seen a nice rise in price over the last 2 months. It has increased from $4 to $8. And we're going to dive into a lot of detail today because it's likely we're going to see the price crashing down. And today I'm going to give you my expert opinion based on my 15 years of trading on why Polkadot is likely to be sideways to down. And your job is to protect your portfolios, either shorting the market, taking profits, and waiting for the very high probability setups. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. We are going to dive straight into Polkadot. Now, first of all, I'm going to simplify things. Markets tend to move in fives and threes. And you're probably thinking, these green and red lines, what do they represent? Well, this is the actual price data of Polkadot on a daily chart. But what I've noticed is people get quite confused with the noise of the bars. Because like, what do the bars mean? And I'm going to simplify it for you, just drawing what's called Elliott waves, fives and threes, ABCs, corrections. We're going to go into a bit of detail. And for those of you that saw my video yesterday, I got quite a few private messages saying that you made some really, really good profits. What we said was Litecoin was likely to be reaching this ABC correction. Price is likely to be moving sideways to down. And then as of, I guess, this morning, we had a nice movement to the downside. But those that are in this trade expect it to be sideways to down overall for quite a few more days, and we're going to keep a close eye on this because I'm looking for further entries on this particular trade because we're probably going to reach this zone with Litecoin. But today's focus is Polkadot. So now what I'm going to do, again, keep in mind, this is real life price data with Polkadot. We're just going to simplify it. So after a 5-wave movement to the upside, what typically occurs is a 3-wave correction. And it can be relatively predictable when we're using some Fibonacci ratios. So what I'm going to do the analysis with these lines, and then we're going to look at the price data. The first thing you want to know is most corrections tend to have a typical range, and the most common is 50 to 78.6%. In other words, what that means is the price moves up, and when it tops out at a 5-wave impulsive move, it tends to do a correction. It's called a retracement between 50% and a maximum of 78.6%. That's most common and most typical. And that's what we should expect for Polkadot. So right now with Polkadot, we've actually made a pretty big move to the downside if we just look at that, because we're at that 50% mark. However, the big question should be, is this likely to be the end of a correction and then we get a continuation to the upside? Well, the fast answer and the simple answer is no. And that's what we're going to break down. Because if you can understand the key psychology of buying and selling behavior, you can see that we're unlikely to be seeing new highs, but we are likely to see some type of movement to the upside. And I'm going to go into a bit of detail before we see a follow through to the downside. And by the way, I'm due to do an update on my Bitcoin report. I do a weekly Bitcoin video report. It's in my free membership area to add value to you, so you can really keep a close eye on the entire crypto market. But Bitcoin tends to be the leader, and we've been just on point, because we were anticipating this move to the downside, and it looks like it's begun. So probably tomorrow I'll do the next weekly update. So if you want access, make sure you click the link below, get free access, and then stay tuned with Bitcoin because it will tell you what's likely to be occurring with the rest of the market. So what I'm going to dive into next is something called Fibonacci time. Most people don't use this or don't even know it exists. But basically, long story short, most corrections take a certain amount of time. So if we measure how long did it take for this 5-wave move to occur, and we're going to project some dates in advance, that gives us a big clue if this correction is likely to be over or if it's just the first leg. So these are the key ratios. I cover these in a bit more detail in my advanced training, which is in my private areas in terms of my private community. So now, when we're looking at this, Polkadot is likely to be sideways to down until the 11th of March to the 23rd of March. That's the high probability. Very, very key. So when we're looking at the price, this recent price data to the downside, this gives us a clue that this is unlikely to be the end. Probably going to get another move up and then a further move to the downside, probably testing this $5 range with Polkadot. Really, really important. So now let's just bring into play. So we've got pattern, we've got price, we've got time, but now we want to look at momentum. Momentum is going to give us a further clue on what's really likely to be occurring when we're looking at Polkadot. And this, what I'm doing here, applies to all markets and all time frames. So what we've got, if I just quickly jump into a weekly chart, right? What we want to be aware of with Polkadot is this blue line crossing below the red tells us that the momentum is to the downside. And for the next few weeks, we should anticipate further downward movement with Polkadot. Now I simplified this. I've created something called the Trend Identifier dashboard. It's this dashboard down here at the bottom of the screen. You'll see it here. It says the weekly is in a downtrend, a strong bear downtrend. So the overall movement we're anticipating is down. We've got a first leg down, which we're going to go into a bit more detail. And we're probably going to see further movements to the downside. And then when this momentum indicator moves up here, it will probably be some type of correction, more than likely, and then a continuation to the downside, keeping in mind that the weekly momentum is pointing down. So there's a saying in trading, the trend is your friend, ride it until its end, until it reaches its bend. And that's what we're looking to do with Polkadot. So I'm just going to do one more thing. So now I need to bring up the recent price data, right? So I'm going to bring up this. So when I'm looking at this, what I'm on high alert for is I'm asking myself the question. Let's just bring it in like this. This movement to the downside, does it look corrective or does it look impulsive? You go, what are you talking about, Jakia? Well, buying and selling psychology has impulsive trends and corrective movements. And this to me looks impulsive. So what do I mean by that? It looks like a pretty clean 5-wave move to the downside. So we just draw this out and we go, it looks like a 1, 2, looks like a pretty clean 3, potential 3, because it could even be here as a 3, because 3s don't tend to be, let's just do it here actually. Let's just move it to here. 3, 4, and we're probably on making a wave 5. So this is another clue. I'm just going to change this to red, and I'll tell you why in just a second. And we'll change this to micro, and we'll keep it like this. So now, I'm just going to take the data back like this. I'm going to get rid of the price information. Let's just move it like this. I'm just going to get rid of this so it just makes it a bit cleaner for you to see. The key thing is a 3-wave correction should not finish in 5s, as in a correction should not finish more often than not. Like it doesn't finish in this kind of sequence. It's normally an A, B, C, and then a continuation. So this is just another clue that this is not the end of a correction. So what we're likely to see, very likely to see with Polkadot is some type of ABC correction like this. Maybe not straight away, maybe the next couple of days, just be on high alert. So if we do get a movement to the upside, it's unlikely that this high is going to get exceeded straight away. So this just tells you the high probability outcome of what's likely to occur. And then we're probably going to get a second leg to the downside. And I'm just going to draw this out. Again, I am forecasting here, so just so you know, we don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we're probably going to see something like this. Right, even if I just clean this up, make it a bit more, what's very likely to occur. It's probably going to be something like this, give or take. And what I want to differentiate, because some people find this difficult to get their head around, and everything in life is difficult before it's easy, is multiple degrees of wave counts. The green is the higher degree wave count, and the red is a lower degree wave count. In other words, there's waves within the waves. So when I'm looking at this, and when you're looking at this, what I want you to see is this is a wave 4, this green. However, it breaks down into a 3-wave structure, right? And that's why I've drawn it in 2 different colors. So now when I bring up the price data, hopefully you can see that. Let me just make it a bit bolder so you can see it a bit clearer. You can see that we've got this green movement to the downside, which looks like a clean wave 4, but it seems to break down into a nice clean A, B, C structure. And that's what I mean by 5s and 3s. We're looking for those 3s. And the next correction should be bigger than any form of correction in this green movement to the upside. So now when I'm looking at this, and we'll summarize this, and so you just know what's highly probable, and this will probably coincide with the weekly momentum. I want to now draw potential A, B, C. We're going to change the color to red, so green, and we'll just change it to an intermediate wave count. There's a lot going on the chart over here, but this is most typical. This is just pure crowd psychology, FOMO, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the fundamentals all baked into the price, and it's speculation, it's buying and selling behavior. And more often than not, this is what we're very likely to see. So we've got this price information already, like this is already occurred. We know this has occurred. We've got this big move to the downside. It's in a 5-wave move. We know that the momentum on the weekly is pointing down, but on the daily is something called oversold. In other words, it tells us we're at or near a local low, and over the coming maybe 5 to 6 days, the overall emphasis should be sideways to up, but only expect a correction, right? And we can go into a bit more detail on this as it unfolds. But then, as the market approaches this part of the momentum, if it does, and it will, then on the bearish reversal, we should expect this wave C to occur. And just be prepared for that, because Polkadot, strong project, and we've seen the price double. There's been a lot of volume, price double in the last 2 months. But don't be overly surprised if we retest the $5 range and expect some type of sideways to up movement, maybe to $7, $7.50. And if it does not, and hear my words correctly, if, doesn't mean it can't, it just means if it does not go above this high, then it's highly probable next bearish reversal that we're going to see a sideways to down movement with Polkadot itself. By the way, if you want to get this dashboard and the buy and sell signals, let me just show you the buy and sell signals. It's so powerful. We worked so hard to create this. I'm just going to show it to you a bit clearer. Let's get rid of this price data. I'm going to show it to you over here. You can see that we got this sell signal over here. This was based on a bearish momentum reversal in line with the weekly, and it produces this sell signal. And it tells us that if the pattern and price is in play, and we saw a wave 5, then the market is likely to move down, and that's exactly what we got. So we're probably going to get another sell signal in this region over here. And if it's in line with the weekly momentum, again, we're probably going to get that follow through. So if you want to try out and test out the sell signals, it's really, really powerful. I'm now making available a 30-day trial, £1. And then if you like it, it's £9.97 thereafter. You can set alerts. There's training on this as well. It's very, very powerful indeed. So there you have it. Do you agree with Polkadot? What do you think? Strong project. But just remember, human psychology is human psychology, buying and selling behavior. So don't get too caught up in the hype. And Bitcoin is anticipated to be down, and I will be doing an update over the coming few days with the Bitcoin report. So make sure you take advantage of that as well. Let's finish with a quote from my book. We're going to go with chapter 5 today. I start every chapter with a quote. And it's Leonardo da Vinci. Its simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. How can we get things simpler so we can act with consistency and not get caught up in all the noise? Because there is a lot of noise in all markets, but especially crypto, because it's such a young market. A lot of retail is involved, and we just want to be really, really aware of that as well. So keep things simple. My favorite is pattern, price, time, and momentum.